Danny Dyer is back in the spotlight, and this time, it's not through reality TV, soap dramas, or tabloid headlines. His latest film Marching Powder has suddenly taken over Prime Video in the UK, shooting to the very top of the streamer's film chart. What's surprising isn't just that it's #1, it's that hardly anyone saw it coming. The film originally hit cinemas back in March and left with barely a ripple, but the moment it landed on Prime Video this September, the response was explosive. Now it's not only outpacing other films but even ranking among the platform's biggest shows, sitting just behind The Girlfriend and The Summer I Turned Pretty. The story itself is as outrageous as the title suggests. Dyer plays Jack Jones, a father whose life has gone completely off the rails. He's arrested for brawling before a football match while intoxicated, and instead of the typical punishment, the court forces him into mandatory couples therapy with his estranged wife, Danny. She's played by Stephanie Leonidas, who brings a grounded performance that many critics have called the heart of the film. But therapy isn't the only challenge Jack faces. He's also ordered to get clean, a task that proves far tougher than he imagined. What follows is a mix of comedy and chaos, where moments of vulnerability sit right alongside the wild antics of a man trying and failing to control himself. The project marks Dyer's first leading role on the big screen in over a decade, which is part of why fans are paying attention. For years, he's been best known as Mick Carter in EastEnders, a role he played for nearly a decade before leaving in 2022. Before that, though, Dyer made his name as the face of gritty British cinema, starring in cult films like The Football Factory and The Business. And guess who directed those films? Nick Love, the same filmmaker behind Marching Powder. The two have built a reputation for creating loud, unapologetic stories about working-class characters living life on the edge. So for fans of that era, this reunion feels like a throwback to the raw, no-nonsense movies that put Dyer on the map in the first place. But while audiences are showing up in massive numbers, critics have been far less enthusiastic. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film sits at a shaky 33% approval rating, based on just a dozen reviews. The Guardian described it as an outrageous geezer comedy, leaning heavily into Dyer's reputation for playing unpredictable, rough-around-the-edges characters. The Times had kinder words, pointing out that Stephanie Leonidas steals the spotlight with a performance full of warmth and sincerity, something the film desperately needed. Empire, on the other hand, wasn't impressed, criticizing the movie for uneven humor and a storyline that seemed weighed down by bitterness rather than heart. And yet streaming tells a different story. Numbers don't lie, and the sheer amount of people watching Marching Powder suggests critics might be missing the point. For many viewers, Dyer represents authenticity. He's not polished, he's not trying to be Hollywood, and that rawness is exactly what fans connect with. In an age when so many movies feel overly packaged, a messy, outrageous comedy drama like this stands out. It may not be perfect, but it's entertaining, and that's often enough to keep audiences pressing play. There's also the timing to consider. With Dyer stepping away from EastEnders, people have been curious to see what he would do next. Marching Powder answers that question in the most unpredictable way possible, throwing him back into the kind of role that made him famous while also exploring themes of family, addiction, and redemption. It's a combination that keeps people talking, whether they're praising it as a bold comeback or slamming it as another chaotic geezer flick. And here's where it gets interesting. The film's sudden rise could signal a shift in how movies like this find their audience. Once upon a time, a poor box office showing would mean the end of the road. But streaming platforms give films a second life, letting word of mouth spread in ways that weren't possible before. Marching Powder may have stumbled in cinemas, but online, it's thriving, and that says a lot about how people are watching movies in 2025. Love it or hate it, one thing is undeniable. Danny Dyer's return has sparked a reaction. He's dividing critics, delighting fans, and proving that in the world of streaming, anything can happen. Marching Powder isn't just a film, it's a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected projects turn into the ones everyone's talking about. And if this is what Dyer's comeback looks like, it might just be the beginning of a brand new chapter in his career.